the developer of this particular drawing has asked for a little help. He's having some difficulty in writing out a DXF file from the drawing. The first thing to note is that the images, which are sitting inside little rectangles and tagged to individual species, are not showing in my computer because I don't have the path to each individual user image. So his name is Dean and he's using Picasa and he's got an image of plant number 223. The file size of this particular drawing is very large. If we go to information and drawing information, you can see it's 3.2 megabytes in size. I'll just highlight that zone there, 3.2 megabytes, which is a very big drawing for a big file size for a drawing of this size. What I'm going to do is to take the easy way out. If I typed the blocks command and have a look at the blocks in the drawing, you see there are a couple of unnamed blocks here. But if I click on, say, the window there, I could delete the window block because it's not used in the drawing. And that would, in fact, reduce the file size somewhat. But there's a much easier way. If we select everything, which all of the information in this drawing is in model space, if we select it all, right-click and say clipboard copy, that puts all that information on the clipboard. If we then go to File and New, and say we're going to start a new drawing with no template at all, and right-click and clipboard paste, and I'll unselect all, that puts a copy of the drawing. So our first drawing was referred to as Dean, so let's now save this drawing as Dean 2. Save as, we're in the temp folder, so we'll call it Dean 2. And we'll save. And the first thing to do is to look under information at drawing information. And you can see we've reduced the file size from 3.2 megabytes to 0.8. So what's that about? It's now 25% of the size that it was before. So if we were trying to write out a DXF file, we only have 25% of the file size to deal with instead of a very large file. The other thing to note is, as I look at the drawing, I was assuming that the hatching in this area through here was in fact solid hatching, but as I get in here and select the hatch area and right click and go to properties, you can see that it's in fact a swamp hatch pattern, and it's rather too dense. That's going to make writing out a DXF file again and working with this image quite difficult, because GardenCAD's got to write out lots of entities to save that. And I'd apply the same to this one. Go to properties and make that 200. And let's zoom out, zoom extents again and look at the drawing. That looks a little better, I think. It'll still plot fine and represent, although it's swamp, it will represent some paved area. There are other hatch patterns that you might wish to use. We'll just pick on this one, do it again, and maybe make that one 100, and that's made life just a little easier. So we've reduced the file size, we've reduced the density of the hatch patterns. I'd be inclined probably to use a solid hatch pattern. If I draw a polyline, and I'll just sort of roughly deal with the shape, and I'll close that one. To hatch it, it's draw, hatch, pick the entity, just that closed polyline, we'll have a solid hatch, and OK it. And by choosing the colour of that to fairly, let's go to colour, choose a particular colour. Let's say what I'm looking for is a fairly pale looking colour, maybe a browny colour that might work for hatching. That would work reasonably well, and if we put that at use the tool to shuffle entities to the back, we can put the hideaway area above that, and that may well do the job. One other approach we often use is just to sort of hatch an indicative area rather than the whole lot. But I digress. What we're now interested in is, can we write, let's remove that, can we use the file and export DXF, we'll call it DIN2 DXF, and can we export that? So now the computer is working on that much smaller file size, and it's writing a DXF file. The little circle, this is on a Windows 8.1 computer, the little circle there indicates that writing is taking place. And we're likely to produce a file size. A DXF is just a text file. It'll be a lot larger than the drawing file, but it's likely to balloon out to maybe 3 megabytes in size when it finishes. Well, here we are in the temp folder, and we're looking for one called DIN2, and there it is at 3.4 megabytes in size. So by reducing the file size of a GardenCAD drawing, you can then perhaps get the tool that writes the DXF file out to work much better.